Landing the six-figure tech job that you've been dreaming of is a lot easier than you think. I'm going to lay out all the steps that you need to follow to get there. And I will preface, this does take time, it does take effort. It's not going to happen next week. It's not a magic formula, but I know that with consistency and following these steps, you can get there because it's exactly how I got there. So by way of introduction, my name's Cameron. I'm a writer. I write online content and do content strategy for some of the biggest brands in the world. I've worked at Tesla, Amazon, and Robinhood. And I currently write books very quickly here on this YouTube channel. You'll see more of that later. So getting into tech and making a six-figure income is all about proving you can do the work, right? So your first step is you need to figure out what exactly that work is. So for me, it was writing. For you, it may be coding, it may be visual design, it may be videography, it may be any number of creative or non-creative paths. But it needs to be something that you are interested in, because you're going to be spending a lot of time researching, learning, and actually doing the thing, right? For me, it was writing. I read a lot about writing. I produced a lot of online content, spent a lot of time writing. And if I didn't enjoy writing, it would obviously be very difficult and tedious to go through that process. So step one, you really need to pick something that is interesting to you. You don't have to already have the skills because you're going to learn as you go. Okay? So step two is pick your principle and discipline and then produce a bunch of work. So for me, it was writing. When I first started and made this decision to pursue writing, I was working in a call center. I would answer phones all day, talk to very angry people about problems they were having with the product that I didn't particularly like. And it was just draining. It just sucked the soul out of me on a daily basis. And I knew that I had to get out of there. So I picked writing and I started writing about everything. I had an interest in esports, competitive gaming. So I would write articles about any event that I saw, right? Any hot takes that I had. I would write about my life. I would journal. I was just producing. You gotta do the work. So if you're wanting to code at a major tech company, here's the thing: you got to learn how to code, right? There's no way around that. Teach yourself to code. There's plenty of online free ways to learn. Teach yourself to code, and then you need to produce projects. If you are a photographer, you may or may not already have skills in photography. If you don't, go online and learn. If you do, start producing work. If you're a graphic designer, same thing. You may already have a style and skill set, and you may already know how to use the tools. If you don't, you need to learn. Then you need to produce work. Now, here's the thing. We're going for high volume here. Obviously, you don't want to produce a bunch of junk, right? But you want to just produce and not give too much credence to whether or not other people like it. You're just going for creation. You just want to amass a huge body of work that you have made from nothing. The reason is it's not really about having this huge body of work. It's about the repetition and the practice of going through the process of creating from zero to a finished product. Think of it like when you were little and you danced or you played baseball or you played soccer or whatever the case is, you were in theater, right? Any activity, you had practice. That practice lets you build the skills you need so that you can apply them when it comes time to perform or play in the game or whatever the case is. Same thing here. Like, we're still holding our day job, right? We're still answering phones, talking to angry people. But at night, I'm writing. We're producing. We're just putting pen to paper, typing on the keyboard, putting code in our code base, just building, getting things out. And I know that's the hardest thing. It's hard to be motivated after a long day. It's hard to know that you're producing this thing And when you finish, it's likely never going to get used and never see the light of day. Doesn't matter. You have to let that go. You cannot marry yourself to all of your work. You have to just be able to produce. The repetition, even if you're not targeting specific goals and things to learn, the repetition will give your mind and your body and whatever bits of you need to accomplish these tasks the ability to continue to learn intuitively what works better and what doesn't work. That's what you want. So for me, when I started writing, like I said, I was writing blog posts, I was writing summaries, I was writing in my journal, I was producing just volume and volumes of work. One article or one piece a day minimum is what I did for 6 months. None of that sold. None of it was published. Some of it I self-published, obviously, but most of it didn't see the light of day. Most of it I don't remember writing. That's how much I did, right? You have to produce enough that you forget all the things that you even produced. There's just so much that you learn through experience and practice. So please, that's the most important step. Produce and create. So once you have a lot of work, what you're going to do is create a portfolio, okay? Everything you produce does not go in the portfolio, and the portfolio can be in any format. For me, it was a website, right? I just had a portfolio with my articles. I would post them there. Perfect. You may have a Flickr account, an Instagram account, a YouTube account. You could have whatever format makes sense for you and is easy for you to use. You do not put everything in the portfolio. I will repeat it over and over. Do not put everything you produce in your portfolio. When you're starting out, you produce a large body of work. Then you hand pick and select the things that you are most proud of and that show some variation in your skill set. Okay? So for me, I could do a news article, I could do an event summary, I could do a journal or creative writing piece. Those are 3 separate skill sets, but they all come together to show that I know how to create content online, right? So you need a little bit of variety in what you select, and they need to be things that you are proud of, okay? Only those pieces make it into the portfolio. You are continuing to produce all of this stuff that is not going to go in the portfolio and not see the light of day. That's okay. Just take the very best and put it in your portfolio. Now, once you have a portfolio, it's time to get feedback, okay? This is scary. It's hard, especially when you first start. People aren't going to like what you do, especially if you are just starting out. Obviously, your skill set is not at the same level as an industry professional who's been doing the same work for 15 years, right? What you want to do is solicit feedback from people in the industry. Ask them to check out your portfolio, or better, one specific project in your portfolio. One photo, one logo you made, one video, one thing, right? Asking the world from somebody you don't know or barely know in the industry does not set a good working relationship between the two of you. Have them review one piece that you are proud of that matches their skill set, and then let them give you feedback. That feedback will be bad. They may give you some good feedback. They may say, oh, I really like this. Oh, you really did this thing great. You know, you articulated this point really well. Your shading is excellent. Whatever the case is, they may give you some good feedback, but they will likely tell you a lot of parts of your project that suck. And that's okay. You're still starting out. You have produced hundreds and hundreds of pieces maybe, but this person that you're soliciting feedback to has done thousands, right? They're just further down that journey than you are. So to them, it looks amateurish. To you, it looks like the best thing you could produce. So what you're going to do is get that feedback and incorporate it as you go, right? Everything you produce in that niche or in that genre, now you incorporate the feedback that you've been given. You also go back and fix the thing that they reviewed. The feedback sometimes is super specific to this one article or this one video. Fix it. And here's why. You are then going to start applying for jobs. Those jobs have recruiters and hiring managers that are going to review your work, and you have the opportunity to make that work better by listening to somebody who already has a job above or at the level that you're looking to get to. Clearly, they understand something and have a level of skill that you don't yet have. So you need to listen and apply those things that you learn. Now, like I said, the next step is applying. You need to apply, like, a lot. And I know job applications suck, and I know you fill out the same thing over and over, and you have all this information in your resume, but then you also have to fill it out after you've already submitted your resume. I get it. It sucks. But you need to give yourself, excuse the sports analogy, you need to give yourself as many at-bats as you can. You need to give yourself as many opportunities to succeed as possible. So when I say apply everywhere, I mean apply everywhere. Now, very important, you are applying specifically to jobs that make sense with what you want to do, right? You want to be a graphic designer. You're only applying to graphic designing jobs. Don't apply to senior graphic designing jobs. Don't apply to graphic designing manager jobs. Apply to graphic design jobs. They don't have to be junior. They don't have to be internships. They don't have to be anything like that. But apply to jobs that you do fit the description, okay? Oftentimes it's going to ask for 1 to 3 years of experience. That tends to be the range for like entry level. Ignore that. But make sure that the skills they list are things that you can do or that you can feasibly learn quickly. Now, I also want to tell you, not only should you be applying everywhere, as in places in your town and places that you feel you could get into, you should be applying everywhere. If you're interested in working for Google or Apple, apply. If you want to work for Meta, apply there. Now, obviously the odds of you getting into Google are a lot less than the odds of you getting into a small ad agency. But it doesn't hurt to apply, right? You never know what's going to happen. So apply everywhere to every job that's somewhat interesting to you in the industry. Then you continue working your current job and you continue producing. Now, this is where it gets the most stressful. Obviously, there's only so many hours in the day. You have to spend some of them making money so you can pay your bills. I was answering phone calls. Sucks. It was draining me before. Now I had more things to do. I had to write every day. I was filling out job applications, other, general life things, and I'm answering calls every day. It's difficult. It's really hard. I get it. Everybody gets that, right? Nobody starts in the perfect job. But you need to be consistent with all of those things. You need to continue working to make a living, obviously. You need to continue producing, and you need to continue applying, all at the same time. Once you have an interview, make sure you focus. Prep for the interview, learn about the company, think of good questions. I could go into a whole other video of interview prep, but make sure you take it seriously, no matter what size the company is, because the next step is very important. You get the job, you need to demonstrate your value to the company. Here's how you do that. You obviously have the skill set that they hired you for. Great. Now you need to track solutions that you are producing and what the outcomes were. Nobody's going to do that for you. You need to say, okay, here's a problem. So for me, I'll give you an example. I ended up writing for customer support content, like help content, where somebody doesn't know how to make an account, and then they call in customer support. Those are the calls that I would receive, right, and help them out. I ended up writing help articles so they could figure out how to do that on their own. So you need to be able to demonstrate that you can identify an issue. Let's use that for an example, right? I used to get a ton of calls about people that couldn't create their account. I worked with the analytics team internally at this first job and saw, okay, people are having trouble creating an account. So I am going to write an article that explains that very clearly. And then I track the baseline. Currently, we're getting this many calls per week about creating an account. Now, I want to solve that. So I write this article, I publish it. First, you need the baseline before you publish. Before you do your solution, you need the baseline. Okay, very important. Then I publish. So now I have the solution. People could, in theory, search how to create an account online for this product and see my article. Then they could create their account. Now, if that's working as intended, if that's giving the solution to the customers, which is what I was trying to do, then in theory, the number of contacts we're going to get of confused people not knowing how to do it would go down. So now you track the progress towards that goal. And you track it positive or negative. If it's positive, you report up to your managers, you put that on your resume, you move on to the next project. Good job. You were successful. If it's negative, right? Like I produced this this article for people that don't know how to start or sign up for an account, open an account. If there's more people contacting us confused, obviously I wasn't successful, right? This piece that I designed wasn't successful. That's not a bad thing. I mean, obviously you want to knock it out of the park your first try, but learning is just as important to illustrate. So now I have this thing, I can identify, okay, this was a problem. I identified what the baseline was. I produced a potential solution. I looked at that solution and found it's not working, right? I identified that and I report that up. Then I come up with another solution, right? That solution you implement and you continue to see if there's improvement. What you're doing here is obviously you don't want to put the bad things on your resume initially, but you're giving yourself the opportunity to fix and iterate, right? You tried to solve a problem, your solution wasn't the correct solution. So try again. Being able to identify that something is not working and then have the tenacity to continue improving and iterating until you do have a working solution is a valuable skill that you will need to illustrate when you're going for this six-figure job that you're shooting for, okay? You need to be able to identify issues, solve those issues, and verify that the issue is solved. And if it's not, come up with a solution that is viable and solve it. So, like I said, you will put the end result, when it's positive, on your resume. But in interviews, you will talk about the entire process because employers want to know that you are able to be self-sufficient, identify issues, and come up with solutions. Now, you have your job. You are tracking metrics. The final thing you need to do is leverage that job that you currently have and the skill set that you have and the project you are doing to get the next job. That next job might not be the 100K, maybe it is. But you're going to then repeat this final couple steps so that you can leverage up to 100K plus, 6 figures. What you're going to do is start applying passively everywhere that you want to work. Now you get the opportunity to be selective because you are already working in the field. You are doing the job that you were shooting for, right? It may not be at the company you want to be at, but you are actively participating in the industry, right? You are producing work that is being used by brands that could be showcased. You're updating your portfolio to include that professional work now instead of just the work that you were churning out before you had a full-time position. Now you have the opportunity to be more selective and apply to jobs. You still want to apply to as many as are possible, but you can be more selective about your criteria. Say you want to work at like a FAANG company, right? Go through and apply for all the FAANG companies and all of the things that you meet the description. That's the thing. Again, the years of experience is debatable. You don't have to meet those. Some places are really strict about it. I would say ignore it. You need the skills that it mentions. If you have the skills you have a shot at being successful. Okay? Now, you continue working just like you did. I was on the call center talking on the phones while I was waiting to get my first writing job. Now you do the same thing with your current job in the industry. You continue working, you continue improving, you continue impressing and reporting on these projects that you're completing. But you continue to apply in the background for these higher paying jobs. Eventually somebody's going to contact you. If you're doing good work and you are improving, eventually somebody is going to need your skill set and they will contact you based off of your application and resume. Now, when that happens, take this interview seriously. Prep, make sure you understand what you're going into. This is, I can tell you from experience, working at a FANG company or working at, very large, successful, valuable brands, it is another level, right? Success at Amazon is very different than success at my local print shop. Okay? The metrics are just so huge at a large company. And you can do that, obviously. Your work is impactful and you're able to prove that. And they think it might be. That's why they're contacting you for the interview. But you need to be able to stand up against that pressure and rely on your skill set. At the end of the day, whether it's 1 million people reviewing my article, my help article, or if it's 10 people reviewing the article is the same, right? The work is the same, and the audience size shouldn't matter. If you can be successful in the small audience, you can be successful for the large audience. If you're successful at the small company, you could be successful at the large company. You just need to breathe and understand that. Don't cut yourself short. That's not on my list, but it's the key to this whole thing. You are producing the work, you are building the skills, you are developing into somebody that can handle the pressure of working in these huge companies for a huge salary. But don't cut yourself off. Okay? Give yourself all the opportunities, allow them to tell you no. Do everything you can to succeed, and sometimes it's going to be no. Failures happen. But you can continue to try, and you can control the work that you're producing, the effort you're putting in, and eventually that effort will pay off. So for me, I stepped through several writing jobs before eventually getting 6 figures. I went through, I was writing SEO websites for a company, part-time, not great. I was writing in Australian English. Obviously, I'm not Australian. I had to learn a lot of lingo for that. And I hated it. It was better than a call center. I could say that. But maybe I just had a really negative outlook. It was hard. It was a grind. It was production writing, just churning things out. After that, I ended up going to a tech company, a small tech company that does smart home equipment. It was painful. I had some very good coworkers. I had a lot of very not good coworkers. We didn't have a lot of direction from higher leadership. It was chaos all the time. It was really difficult. But you push through that. You produce as much good work as you can, and then you leverage that work to get your next job. My next job was actually out of writing, out of necessity. But my next writing job was then at a bank. Very boring. A lot of very technical stuff. A lot of legal review and compliance review, right? But every step up, I'm getting paid slightly more. I'm still not at 6 figures at this point, but I'm leveraging my previous work at my previous jobs to get a better paying job. I get a few promotions there. I leverage that into my job at Robinhood. Now we're talking real money. From there, I leverage that job into a job at Amazon. From there, I leveraged that into a job at Tesla. And now I'm at a point where, obviously, I don't want to make it seem like I could just walk into any position. But once you work with bigger, more recognizable brands, your value, your perceived value, goes up. That's why you always want to move forward. Getting promotions and being happy where you are, if you're satisfied with that, that's great. If you want to move up to higher levels or higher value brands, that will enable you to then move on to even higher level brands. Anyway, it's been a wild trip for me. Like I said, I've been doing this now at a high level, 6 figures, for 5 years, I believe, at this point, and I'm still doing it. But it all started with me sitting on my couch, writing day after day after day about what happened in my day, esports competitions that I saw, and just doing everything I can to produce as much work as possible and put in the reps so when the time comes, I can actually be successful. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble on. I know that you can do it, is the thing. I'm not special. I don't have, well, now I have a specialized skill set. When I started, I didn't. Like I said, I was answering phones. Like, they'll put a warm body in that seat. You know, you barely even have to be able to work the phone. It'll answer automatically for you. Like, the skill level that I had in a professional setting was so low that I am confident in saying anybody can do this. I believe in you. I believe you can do it. Please, please, please give yourself the opportunity. Put in the work. Do the hard thing, because you're going to be excited that you did later. All right, I'll talk to you later.